That's out of bounds, but there's your siren. The West Coast Eagles are through.
Collingwood will go in to the 2018 Grand Final. A famous victory on the back of this man here. Hook is a goal. He's kicked the first.
Chopped out by Kennedy. First blood, West Coast.
After 404 matches played in 2018, 191 days since round 1, and 658 players having played a game, the AFL Grand Final is upon us. My name is Ryan, and being joined by Joel, we're going to break down each team in your all-access Grand Final preview between the West Coast Eagles and Collingwood Magpies. To say that these two teams have history in the finals is selling it a bit short. It was the drawn qualifying final in 1990 that resulted in extra time being implemented for finals games, after the finals were put on hold an extra week for those two Titans to play a rematch. In fact, it was these two teams that tested out the new extra time rule in 2007, when they again drew in a semi-final. It should also be noted that these are the only two teams to have drawn in any finals game in the AFL period, with Collingwood drawing in the 2010 Grand Final against St Kilda, and West Coast drawing the 2017 Elimination Final against Port Adelaide. It would seem that these two teams have been defining what it means to play tight, contested finals football. Collingwood and West Coast have met in the finals a total of 6 times, 7 if you include the 1990 rematch, with the Pies winning on 4 occasions. The Eagles have also won the last 2 encounters and are playing on the home of football, the MCG, this weekend, also the home of the Pies. It would seem that West Coast has their work cut out for them, as do the Pies, as a grand final win isn't exactly easy. So, how exactly do these two teams match up? And who will walk away with the coveted Premiership Cup? Let's take a look at the West Coast Eagles first up. The Eagles have had a season-defying year, finishing second on the ladder and coming into a second grand final appearance in 4 years. They also come into the game after thrashing Melbourne to the tune of 11 goals. In a year that so-called footy expert Robert Walls tipped them to win the equally coveted wooden spoon, and most plaudits having them missing the finals altogether, it's been no secret that West Coast has breathed new life into the team after the retirements of Matt Priddis and Sam Mitchell. After Nick Naitanui went down with a season-ending ACL injury, coincidentally against Collingwood in round 17, the Eagles midfield began to struggle and played much more reactively. With Andrew Gaff being suspended for 8 matches only 3 weeks later, the engine room looked like it may let down what appeared to be a fairy tale year. With 2 impactful players gone, it took the Eagles a few weeks to adjust their midfield, and it now plays a completely different brand of football. Led by Jack Redden and Elliot Yeo, West Coast has become a contested ball machine, beating both star-studded midfields in Collingwood and Melbourne across the final series. With the class of Luke Shuey now moving more to the outside and Chris Marston playing his more familiar wing role, the midfield is no longer seen as a weakness to this team. They don't have the star power of Collingwood, but it seems they are able to shut down and spread faster than almost every other group can. The wider expanses of Optus Stadium have helped in this regards as well, and should translate well to the MCG as West Coast look to use every inch of the ground to penetrate a team's defence. The backline is very well organised, led by Shannon Hearn, and will back itself to quell dangerous talls Mason Cox and Brody Majacek, although mid-sized forwards like De Goey, Stevenson and Thomas have caused the most damage across the season. It's no secret that the Eagles own the air, with Barras, Hearn and in particular McGovern being marking specialists, and if the midfield can apply enough pressure, these three will have a field day. They can be exposed out the back with quick ball movement though, so if the mids are caught sleeping, then the quicker mid-sized forwards will be eating their cherry pie. The main cause for concern for Collingwood is the Eagles' forwards. Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling look menacing, especially after Kennedy has had a few weeks to settle and get some game touch back. He looked especially rusty for the first 3 quarters against the Pies in the qualifying final, but helped break the game apart as his confidence grew. With an undersized backline and a relatively fresh Josh Kennedy on the MCG, a ground with massive space for him to lead into, we could see the largest bag of goals kicked for quite some time. Of course, in his stead is Jack Darling, who will take another undersized defender with him. Darling will be looked to redeem himself on the big stage after the world saw him choke in 2015. Accompanying the two talls will be the dangerous small fleet of Ryan, Lacroix, Cripps and Rioli, a namestay for grand finals. For West Coast to take home the chocolates, and I suppose the premiership, the battle will be won in the midfield. I know, it's cliche to say, but if they can at the very least quell the Pies midfield and not allow them to transition easily, then the back line of the Eagles, and more importantly the forward line, will be able to read the play and cut off any attack the Pies throw at them, fall over and allow the opposition mids time and space, and they may as well fly high back home. Next, let's let Joel have a look at the Collingwood Magpies.
Well. After years of middling futilities under Nathan Buckley, the Magpies have finally ascended like a phoenix from the ashes and have locked a date for an epic showdown with the Eagles on the last Saturday in September, completely dominating the seemingly invincible Richmond Tigers on the MCG and letting me enjoy every last drop of schadenfreude from Richmond supporters across the country. We'll do that. But enough of my saltiness over last year's grand finals. Let's focus on the Pies. Well, their top-end midfield talent like Pendlebury, Sidebottom and Treloar have continued to be the powerhouses that keeps the Pies ticking over on the scoreboard. Steele Sidebottom polled exceptionally well at the Brownlow Monday night, coming second with 24 votes, with Tom Mitchell ahead of him with 28. Now, some people might find that surprising that Steele Sidebottom was that close to Mitchell, but he has been instrumental in getting the Pies where they are right now. In the past 2 games alone, he has combined for 72 disposals, which is downright insane, and the cherry on top of that cake is that both matches were played at the G, so he'll be poised to repeat these feats on Grand Final day. Even more impressive was his 41 disposals against the Tigers, which really caught them by surprise. But anyone who's been paying the slightest bit of attention towards Collingwood throughout the season would tell you that Sidebottom has reached a new level which has gone a long way in getting the Pies where they are, and hopefully get them over the line. One of the feel-good success stories of the year has been the rise of Mason Cox as a fully fledged forward line weapon for the Pies. Now, against the Eagles and the Giants earlier in the finals, he wasn't looking too flash, but seemed to have found his footing as he trounced Richmond's defence and strolled his way to 3 goals. Hopefully this should inspire some confidence in his performance heading into the game, and help with the possible shootout that both forward lines have the potential to bring. Although, if he doesn't, Myercheck, De Goey and most of Collingwood's midfield forwards should make up for the deficiency. Brodie Grundy, as has been the case for the entirety of the final series, has the Pies game on his shoulders, as he'll manoeuvre the ball to the midfielders, and then it is off to the races for the Pies. Jeremy Howe and the backs will have to hold off the massive firepower that the Eagles bring, and like the earlier game in this finals, be prepared for an onslaught. I'm really on the fence about who will win this game. If the Collingwood can keep up the frantic pressure that completely stuffed the Tigers, I think they should win, but by how much, I am not sure. I do think, however, shutting down the Eagles' web will also be a key to allow for the more chaotic elements of the Pies games to manifest on the larger MCG ground.
I predict West Coast to win by 23 points, after getting an early lead and never being reeled back in.
My prediction for this match will be the Eagles by 2 goals, with Luke Shuey winning the Norm Smith medal. But you might want to take my predictions and analysis with a grain of salt, as I am the guy who picked the Baltimore Orioles to follow in the MLB, and they are having a Carlton Blues level season this year. The climax of the 2018 season is upon us. The game that stops the nation, unless you're from Queensland or New South Wales, will take centre stage, and only one team will ascend to become the reigning premiers of the 2018 season. Both the Eagles and the Pies have had their ups and downs throughout this season, but none of that matters now, as all that matters is 2.5 hours on the last Saturday in September. If you enjoyed this, remember to like the video, comment below, and subscribe, and ring the bell to stay notified of new content. This has been your AFL Access.